Tet was playing with his chess pieces up in his domain. A voice asked him if he desired the destruction of the humanity and if he had finally decided to act. Tet condemned the speaker for trying to make a Spy X Family crossover by spying on him. The speaker told him that an event fluctuation was detected just before the new humanity king was crowned, and they assumed it was of his doing with the intention of joining the battle. Tet rebuked all those claims, calling them boring and declaring that he's on no one's side, and asking them to mind their business. Meanwhile, frustrated with Sora and Shiro constantly pushing their responsibilities onto her, Stephanie burst into their room like the FBI very early in the morning, waking them up and asking them to get back to their jobs as rulers. Apparently, they had slept for too long. As it was afternoon, they left the precious books all over the place and made a mess of things. They told Stephanie to take the books back to her grandpa's room. She responded saying that it's their room now, as kings have lived there for generations. They complained about the bed there being too tilted, therefore they always fell off it like some huge bricks. They attempt going back to sleep again on their humble futon, as Sora called it. But Stephanie didn't let them, describing their situation as mortifying, as they had the lives of millions in their hands. This led to them finally standing up to perform a weird anime scenario. Stephanie went into gambler mode and challenged Sora to a game, with the condition that if she wins, she has to start behaving like a decent person. Sora saw that the commandments allowed it and frantically tried to get Stephanie to change the conditions of the wager to make him popular instead, so he could lose to her on purpose. In the process of doing this, they find themselves in a position that looked like he was trying to get some cultured plot with her. Shiro immediately interrupted and rescued Stephanie from whatever awkwardness overload that was going on by pulling Sora by the sleeve and reminding him that he loses to no one but her. Stephanie picked blackjack as the game, confident in her chances. Despite her efforts, including trying to trick Sora with a false shuffle, Sora won by counting cards. Afterward, he humiliated 3 aristocrats in the process and used his victory to make Stephanie wear a dog costume like some weirdo furry. To her embarrassment, the outfit made her look strikingly similar to a werebeast, one of the animal-eared races from the Eastern Union. These werebeasts were the 14th ranked race of the X-Seed, known for their heightened senses, physical prowess, and a mysterious sixth sense. Stephanie, fed up with Sora and Shiro's antics, challenged them to several prediction games. However, she ended up losing her dignity each time, as they easily exploited her lack of understanding in probability. After repeatedly outsmarting her, Sora and Shiro pointed out that there was insufficient information available about the werebeasts. They don't really upload as much to their book Instagram. Realizing that they were genuinely focused on their duties and not just messing around, Stephanie directed them to Elkia's main library, which was owned by Jibril, the youngest and most powerful of the Flugel. She slowly started to appear, and her aura amazed them all. Sora even referred to her as death itself. But that all ended when they heard the sound of her voice, which was equivalent to a chibi Hinata. The Flugel landed and asked them what service they wanted from her, introducing herself as Jibril. She called their names, showing that she knows them both. Sora said it makes everything easier and told her he wanted the Libra. Without hesitation, Sora challenged Jibril to a game to take control of the library. Instead of offering something ordinary, Sora wagered 40,000 books containing knowledge from another world. Now this immediately piqued Jibril's interest. She wanted them as much as Naruto would want Ichiraku ramen after a long period away from the village. But she was skeptical about their origins and remained unconvinced that Sora and Shiro truly came from another world. Sora tried proving it to her by showing her something on his phone, though he doubted she could read it. Jibril said it would be easy peasy for her, as she could read over 700 languages. Until she couldn't. She was surprised to see language she wasn't able to read. That wasn't enough proof to her, so she conducted a sensitive area body examination to verify their claims. Of course, Sora eagerly participated, thrilled at the opportunity of touching milk melons and cakes. It took a very disappointing turn, as he could only touch her wings, and she would only touch his shirt, as she thought that was his point of no return, and her wings, apparently, were hers. Eventually, Jibril was convinced that they were indeed from another world. She said they didn't have spirits in them, and referred to them as the unknown, who always have new knowledge that is sought after by people like her. But she still accepted Sora's challenge, risking everything she owned, including herself, like some Pokemon. Sora tried to take advantage of this situation and asked if they could throw in an extra request if they won. Jibril agreed, but was confident they wouldn't win. The game they agreed to play was Shiritori, but not any normal kind of Shiritori. They were playing materialization Shiritori. Think of it as a tangible word chain game. The rules were the same as normal Shiritori. You'd immediately lose if you use a word that has already been used before. Fail to answer for 30 minutes, or if you aren't able to continue. As the game began, Sora started by triggering a hydrogen bomb explosion. Thankfully, Jibril quickly conjured a high-level protective armor around them, allowing them to survive the blast. Talk about starting with a blast-off. The game then escalated as they used words that caused parts of their bodies to vanish, making the experience increasingly intense and oddly entertaining. As the game progressed, Sora and Jibril started getting serious, both aiming to end the match. Sora's strategy was to find a way to either immobilize Jibril or prevent her from saying the next word. When Sora successfully silenced her, Jibril surprised him by continuing the game through written words instead of speaking. Luckily, Sora had anticipated this and prepared for it. He then used atomic theory to create a hypernova explosion, a catastrophic event capable of destroying multiple planets. Because Jibril was the first to be destroyed and sent to Jesus in this scenario, Sora and Shiro won the game. After the match, Jibril learned that Sora and Shiro were brought to this world by the god Tet. Overjoyed by this revelation, Jibril happily pledged her loyalty to them and became their servant. The next day, Stephanie was helping Shiro take a bath. Shiro, however, was very reluctant to bathe, as the natural neat that she was. Sora sat at the corner like a sad and lonely goofball, until he got a jump scare from Jibril, who at the moment only seemed to be a shampoo ad. Later on, Jibril took Stephanie to the kitchen she prepared for her masters. She told her that she wasn't interested in other Imanity and would only talk to her out of respect for her masters. Jibril passed the message to her that there was enough sugar and milk to make whatever she wanted. She was overjoyed by this, but quickly viewed it in a negative light, as Blank always tried to use her. However, these thoughts disappeared as soon as she remembered Sora's effortless plot riz, which brought her pitiful love-blinded optimism back. This made Jibril curious on how Imanity experienced love. At the mention of love, Stephanie got very flustered and fidgeted like a nut job. Meanwhile, while Kurami was cleaning her birthday suit, she had a visitor, and it was no one other than her favorite elf, who brought her treats. They discussed how Stephanie was doing quite great with the new kings. The elf broke the news to her that they've got a flugel now, and are even more powerful. They were probably just playing a game of Monopoly and took it too seriously. However, this news shocked Kurami. Sometime later, Jibril shared crucial information with Sora and Shiro about the Federation, revealing that she had once faced the Werebeasts in a challenge and lost. Details of the game were removed as part of the wager, which meant Sora and Shiro could not plan ahead. Jibril's extensive knowledge showed that the Eastern Federation was the third largest country in the world, known for its strong military and mind-reading abilities, making them very formidable opponents. Furthermore, if someone won a game against them, all memories of that game were erased, adding another layer of difficulty. The team began gathering more information and learned that Elkia had suffered 8 defeats, leading to the loss of half its territory under the previous king. Sora expressed his frustration with the previous king's poor decisions and the significant losses. This upset Stephanie, who ran out of the room in tears, feeling hurt by Sora's harsh words. Sora was left feeling guilty and conflicted. Nice going, Sora. Very rizful of you. Stephanie, reflecting on her memories with her grandfather, clutched a key meant for potential saviors of humanity. Jibril later found her and asked her to return to the library. While there, Stephanie overheard a conversation between Sora and Jibril about the previous king's repeated challenges against the Werebeasts, trying to make sense of the seemingly excessive attempts. Sora remained optimistic about humanity's potential, thanks to Shiro and their other achievements. He believed that the previous king had a purpose behind challenging the Werebeasts so many times. This insight helped Stephanie reconsider her feelings. She decided to give Sora the key her grandfather had entrusted to her. Using the key, Sora opened a secret room. Inside, they discovered the diary of the last king. After deciphering it, Sora learned that the repeated challenges were actually a strategic move to gather valuable information. The previous king's actions, though they seemed like something Patrick would draw on a board, were part of a clever and strategic plan to address the situation and reclaim territory from the Eastern Federation. This revelation showed that the previous king was more insightful and strategic than initially thought, and not a distant cousin of Patrick's. The team visited the Eastern Federation's Aika embassy to meet Hatsuze Izuna. They were escorted into the building by Ino, who turned out to be Izuna's assistant and possessed the rumored mind-reading ability. Apparently, Sora got an appointment by just waving at Ino from miles away. Typical Sora move. As they entered the building, Jibril sure did find a lot of things that piqued her interest, but the same couldn't be said about the people inside, who looked at them like predators ready to pounce. Apparently, Sora's cold appointment method received a cold welcome, so Ino asked him to make a proper appointment next time, like a normal isekai protagonist would. As they rode up the elevator, they kept arguing about which of their two faces was better and who could build better buildings. When they got to the top, they met Izuna and immediately started petting her, unable to resist, despite her grandfather's very much polite warnings. While at the table, Sora tried testing if the Werebeast could actually read minds. He made a wild wager involving Izuna's and Stephanie's holy garments of the Most High. However, this was just a distraction. The real bet was to erase his own memories of how their games functioned. Sora figured out that the Werebeasts used cold reading and their heightened senses rather than genuine mind reading. The duo then presented their findings to the Werebeast Council. They explained that they had decoded the previous king's diary, which revealed that the Eastern Federation had developed a video game. Sora challenged the Werebeasts to an interstate game, putting all of humanity and his race's peace at stake. If they lost, they would be stripped of all commandments, reducing their race to the level of animals. Despite widespread dissatisfaction among the Werebeasts, the game would proceed with Sora and Shiro as the representatives. Sora's determination was clear as he spoke to Shiro about their promise and unity before disappearing in static. This challenge marked the beginning of Sora's plan to conquer the world, aiming to gain territory and uncover the Werebeasts' secrets. He suspected that their reputed sixth sense was more about intimidating opponents into believing in their power rather than actual supernatural abilities. Sora gave the Werebeasts a limited time to decide, stressing that this was a high-stakes game with major consequences. His mix of confidence and recklessness set the scene for an intense and pivotal confrontation. The next day, Shiro woke up and immediately started crying as she noticed that her brother disappeared to buy milk. Stephanie came in and asked what the matter was. Shiro told her that Sora was missing, but Stephanie had no idea who he was, like he had been deleted or something. Shiro immediately checked her phone to see 0 contacts. That's when she realized she wasn't in Kansas anymore.